Just confirm if it is showing recording started at your end,
Yeah, it is showing. Thank you, sir.
because at my end it is still showing starting.
No, sir, now it started. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. So simple two methods I have here. Let's say these methods are written in a class named as maths. It's a public class. And this class itself is written in a DLL named as arithmetic dot pl. This is not a new thing. We saw this on Friday. Am I right? How to create
Yes.
class libraries which output the DLL files. There, how do we define the classes, play with the access modifiers, and then the members, correct? Now, here I have my main application, which has got class program, the regular thing. And just imagine the import statement has been already put. So I've already imported the namespace arithmetic, and that allows me to directly go ahead with static void main. Now, in order to call this method, don't you think I have to say define a variable of type integer R1, let's say result1, which is going to capture the output of this method. Let's say here I have created an object of maths class. If I'm looking to reuse the result returned by this method, don't you think I need something like this?
Yes, sir.
And I believe it will be the same when I go for multiply. I have to say double some variable, let's say R2 for result2, m dot add, m dot multiply. Right? Here also this is going to be important. Yes or no? The
Yes, sir.
receiving variable data type has to be exactly same as that of the return type of your method. Correct? Otherwise, there will be a mismatch and the compiler error will come in. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, you know the software requirements keep on changing. Am I right? Requirements never remain the same. Software once implemented is not the final product at all. If that would have been the case, why we do have so many Windows versions? Why we do have so many Visual Studio versions? Why do we have so many Microsoft Office versions? These are all Microsoft products, I said, but that is the same case with any product from any vendor based on any technology. Am I right? Simply on your mobile phones also you keep on getting updates. Yes or no?
Yes.
Sometimes the changes are internal, you never know what has changed. Sometimes the changes are visible as well. Even the UI also gets changed, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So suppose the requirement comes in over here, which says that I need add method, but it should not be based on ints. It should be based on float. And hence the return type also changes to float. Logic remains the same. Similarly, multiply says double is not sufficient. I need decimal. In this case, only the return type is changing. In this case, along with return type, the parameter types are also changing. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Don't you think this code will start failing then? Because here I am returning float and here I am receiving int. It will say it's a mismatch. Float cannot be assigned to int. This is going to fail. Similarly, decimal cannot be assigned to double. Even this is going to fail. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
There will be runtime crashes, correct?
Yes.
Because we are talking about the finished product, deployed product. We're not talking about the product being developed, correct? If it is being developed, we can get this change. But if it is already deployed, installed, how will we change this? Because there is no source code there, correct? And the end user is never going to get into the code, correct?
Yes.
So don't you think this can create lots of problems when our software is improvising, evolving? You will be forced to make the consumer application also from scratch. I mean, the changes required needs to be done into it. It needs to be compiled. It needs to be deployed as a fresh installation. If this is the case, what I'm looking for ideally is I'm changing this implementation of this DLL only. So why not only this DLL should be deployed? Why I should deploy the whole application? Because that will be time consuming, right? Whereas DLL will be a small in size, small component in size. I can just do simple patching with regular software updates. Yes or no? Yes or no? If that happens, don't you think it will be good? Just copy and paste this DLL or deploy this DLL, whichever mechanism you use, and that should be enough. If that becomes possible, don't you think it will save lots of efforts and time? Be quick.
Yes, sir.
For that reason, instead of using int double the specific data types, we use a keyword called as var. This was something introduced in C# version 3. Var. Don't get confused with the var keyword that we have in JavaScript. This is not variant. In this case, what happens is when the code is compiled, it just goes and checks what is the return type of this add method, what is the return type of this multiply method, and assigns that data type to these variables R1 and R2 automatically. Understand?
Yes, sir.
So I need not make any change into my program here. When add is int, this R1 will be int. When add is returning float, this R1 will automatically become float. Similarly, when multiply is returning double, R2 will be assigned as double variable. When multiply is returning decimal, R2 will be having decimal data type assigned to it. And once assigned, it cannot be changed. So if I talk about this first case, if add was returning integer, R1 becomes integer. So it is equivalent to what statement we were writing explicitly earlier. And then R1 cannot be assigned to a double value or something like that. Float or double, this cannot be assigned. Understood?
Yes, sir.
So where is not variant? Where is something where the system is determining its the variable's data type. And that is why this feature is called as implicitly typed local variable. And why this local variable is used? Because you cannot have where keyword used here in the parameter definition. You cannot use where keyword defined at the class level. Where always has to be there with the local variables of the function. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
There is one more iteration construct that C# has, which is usually used while working with arrays and collections. The iteration constructor is called as for each. So suppose if I have an array of int ARR, multiple elements are there, I want to read all of them. So usually the loop will look like this. For each int a in ar console.writeLine a. With this implicitly typed local variable, I can rewrite this very same loop as for each where a in ar console.writeLine a. Advantage is I need not know what is the type of the elements. Tomorrow, if I change this array to float, my for each loop need not be changed. In this case, it will be required to be changed, but in this case, no change is required. Make sense? So here also, the compiler automatically determines what is the data type. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. So when is for each used?
Whenever you are looking to read from the arrays or collections, you'll be soon using it.
Okay.
Okay. Only read operations allowed. Write operations cannot be performed, right? Here, if you change the value of A, it will not be changing the value, the corresponding value into the array, because for each is a read-only construct. With for, while, and do while, you can actually do the write operations also, because you directly work with the element at that index, correct?
Yeah.
That's not the case with for each. For each is like keep the next element ready to be processed while I am processing the first one. Understood? Get current, move next feature is what is followed. Something like a queue. You apply for passport. There is a queue where you have to stand before you submit your documents, correct? So one person goes inside. The next person is basically kept on standby just near the entry gate. When the first person is done, this person is called in, and then from somewhere outside, the next person in the queue is asked to wait near the entry gate. Correct? This is to save time. I mean, when suppose I am the officer processing the documents. When I'm done with the first person, I need not wait for the next person to come in, because someone from my staff will go and search for the next person and get him in. If I keep the next person waiting, sorry, just outside my cabin, I just need to give a call that, okay, next. The next person comes in. And then my assistant or whoever helping me out will probably say that, okay, from outside, the next person needs to come and wait near the entry of my cabin. Yes, that is what for each does. Understood? Let's build a demo over here. Take a new project, file new project. Here it is. Once you say file new project, this is what the dialog you get. And we are looking for a console application. So again, in the third drop-down box, make sure you select console. So once again, you will have just two options there, console application and console app.NET framework. Now I'll start using the .NET Core version so that we realize that there is no difference in terms of the C# programming language when it comes to coding for .NET framework or .NET Core. The language remains the same. The way how you write the code also remains the same. There are some internal differences between the two frameworks. Basically, the way how they work is where the difference is. .NET framework targets only Windows operating system, whereas .NET Core targets not only Windows, but Linux, various distributions, Mac OS also. That makes it cross-platform, right? So definitely, architecture-wise, there must be some changes done behind scenes. So this is the template that you will be using now onwards. Console application, which has got the tags as C#, Linux, Mac OS, Windows, console, etc. Got it?
Yes.
Select next and name this as CS_demo. Implicit local variables. Here you might notice one change. It's not asking for the .NET version on this screen. So far on the screen only we were asked to select the .NET version, correct? Where we are selecting .NET 4.7.2 or 4.7 or 4.8 or something. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So here, once you are done with this project name, make sure you are choosing the correct location and then say next. The version of the .NET framework that you want to use comes on this screen. Now, it's not the .NET framework version, rather it is .NET Core version. What comes into this list will depend on the installation that you have done on your machine. It may be same as me, it may be different from me also. It may have .NET Core 1, 1.1, 2.0, 2.1, 3.0, 3.1 also listed into it, depending on how you have installed. Even .NET 6 may also be listed if a machine has got .NET 6 installed. Understood? Our target is going to be .NET 5. Latest version is .NET 6. Which version I asked you to select?
5.
.NET 5. Let's click on create. And your program is ready. You will see some structural changes here. There is no references. Do you see?
Yeah.
There is no properties. Correct? You have solution, you have project file, you have program.cs. Rest everything is removed. One new thing comes in, that is dependencies. This plays the role of references. Why it is not references, why it is dependencies? Because whatever the link you are going to create between two applications or two projects, that link has to be supported on not only on Windows, but on Linux and Mac OS as well. Correct? So you have to use some generic architecture with generic names, which are applicable to all platforms that are supported by .NET Core. Do you get it?
Yeah.
We do have something called as dependencies. We'll talk about it later in detail, how exactly the class libraries and all can be used. But now we do have program.cs, which is a known thing. We do have the using system already there, the namespace with the name of the project, class program, static void main, just like the console application for .NET Framework. One additional thing I do see is it by default provides me hello world sample, the first program that we wrote, correct?
Yeah.
If I just want to try this, I need to say start, and it just shows me the output. Yes? Yes? Let's remove this. And let's say here I have static int add int a comma int b. Same example that we discussed on the whiteboard. Here I say return a plus b. And I say static double multiply int a int b return a asterisk b. Okay. Done.
Yes, sir.
I want to make the calls to these methods here in main. In whiteboard, we discussed that the methods are coming from a class library. The only difference I'm making over here is I put those two methods in local scope. We'll see the class library version also in a short while. Let's see the local version first. I want to call add. So I have to say int r1 is equals to add parameters. I want to call multiply as well. So here I say double r2 equals multiply okay, we have integer only there, so I put integer parameters. I say console.write line rated string add result r1 comma multiply result yes.
Yes, sir.
Let's start. We're not interested actually in this output. We know that output will be this only. We're more interested in the way how the code is written. Correct? Now, as I said, if the requirement evolves, I want this data type to be changed to float A, float B, and that returns me a float. See, here immediately there is a mismatch. Cannot implicitly convert type float to int. Similarly, let's say here the requirement changes. To have the return type changed to decimal. Here also I have the similar error. Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
To make this work, I have to manually change this to float. And this one to decimal. Then only this is going to work, correct? Correct?
Yes, sir.
And if I say let go back over here to what it was to start with. And initially itself, if I say this is not int, this is where R1 and this is where R2. Now I make the changes here. This is float, this float, float. This is decimal. No error being reported here. This automatically got changed to float R1 and decimal R2. Before the changes, R2 was double and R1 was int. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand what the use of where is?
Yes, sir.
This is what we call as implicitly typed. Why implicitly? Because it is the language compiler which is giving the data type instead of the developer giving the data type. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Interesting.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And quite useful because many times when we are writing the complex business applications, we don't have time to research on petty things. Like, okay, I'm calling this function. I don't have time to find out what it is returning. Instead of me going through the documentation and finding it, don't you think it will be nice if I just put var there and proceed and let the language find out what is the return type of the function? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Saves time, improves productivity, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's talk about the next thing. I believe everyone is okay with this. If any
Yes.
questions, please let me know.
Sir, I have one question, but it's not related to this. Like I understood this. Sir,
Mhm,
so like you created a main function in static. Okay, so that
mhm.
is understandable. But why did you create the other two like local methods of add and multiply in static only? Why couldn't you choose public?
Okay. So public and static are two different things, first of all.
Yeah.
Right now, I've not given any access modifier, so by default, they are private. I can make these also public. So public and static have nothing to do with each other. They are two independent things.
Okay. So no,
Okay.
my
Second, your actual question, why static, right?
yeah, yeah.
Now, see here, if I don't define static for add or multiply, there will be the member functions of the program class. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Instance members, right? What does it mean? I cannot call add and multiply directly like this. I have to create the instance of program class first, program p equals to new program, and then I have to say p dot add, p dot multiply. Very much the same thing what we did here. I created maths m equals to new maths, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same way I would have required to create program p equals to new program and then p dot add, p dot multiply. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Every time that may not be the requirement. I may be just looking for the method to be there as an helper method, which can be called directly. See, because ultimately here the add and multiply are the members of the same class
Mm-hmm.
of which main is the member, correct?
Yeah.
Now main is static. I'm looking to call these two methods in static context. So if I make them static, I can directly call them without instance. That's first thing. Second, why would I need static? Because they are not working on any data member of the program class. Whatever they are working on, they are taking in as their own individual parameters. So why would
Mm-hmm.
I need add or multiply to be the member functions of the instance member functions of the program class?
Okay. All
They are
right.
independent, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they are independent, they are mainly the utility functions, correct?
Yeah.
And why would I like the utility functions to be the instance members? If they
Okay.
are autonomous, they can be defined as static. Yeah, if there are some data members of program class on which add and multiply is working instead of taking parameters, or even if they are taking parameters, they still need to work with the members of the program class, then I would have defined them as instance members instead of static.
Static. Okay, okay.
Understood?
Yeah, yeah, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Now let's take a new project over here. Again, console application, .NET Core 1 we will be taking. Next, let's name this as CS underscore demo delegates. Location is fine. I'll say next. Target framework will be .NET 5. Create. And once this code comes in, remove console.writeLine hello world statement and save all. Done.
Yes, sir.
Next thing I want is a class library to be created over here in this solution. So how do we create class library? How do we create class library application? Remember from the last session?
Right click on
Solution,
add class.
add, new project, not the class. We have to say new project. It's a class library project I want to add, not just class, correct? Right click on solution, go to add menu. Within that, select class library if available, or simply say new item. Add new project. Once you select new project, you will be on this dialog box. Yes.
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 Here in the last third drop down list box, select library. So all class library template options are displayed. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Here now we need to choose class library which is compatible with the cross-platform applications. So class library .NET framework will not work. We have to choose this class library. A project for creating a class library that targets .NET Standard or .NET Core. And see here the tags: C#, Android, Linux, Mac OS, Windows, and library. Correct?
Yes.
So many platforms listed that itself basically says it's a cross-platform version. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Select this and click next. Name this project as demo lib for library. Don't change the location. Click next. Target framework has to be same as that of the version that you have used in your main project. Older version will do because older version class library can be used by newer version main application. But usually if we are creating something from scratch, ideally we should have the same version selected to avoid any mismatch or incompatibility. Understand?
Yes.
Click create. What do you get there? In that project, you just have class1.cs file, correct?
Yeah.
On Friday, we got this file deleted and got some of the files copied from our main project, right?
Yeah.
Today, we are not going to do that. Just right click this class1.cs file in Solution Explorer and rename it. Give this the name as demo class.cs. You should get the prompt like this. You're renaming a file. Would you also like to perform a rename in this project of all references to the code element named as class 1? Don't forget to click on yes. Because more than the rename of this file, the rename of the class is what is expected. And if you don't click yes, the class will not be renamed here. You will be required to do it manually then. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Now, before we go ahead with the code, let's understand the requirement. This class needs to have a method called as process data that takes in a string parameter named as full name. Understand? Now, my requirement is before I process this full name further, maybe that processing may just involve saving it in a database. I need the full name to have at least 3 sections created into it. Like if I say my name, if I just write this should not be accepted. If I put my name this way, this should not be accepted. Full name should have the middle name also. If I say my name is written like this is something which should be accepted. That's the validation I'm looking for. If this type of naming is not there, I want to transfer the control back to the caller of process data function and force him that until unless you don't give me the correct input, I'll just keep on asking you for the input. Understand? So main is going to call process data, correct? In our case, before that, it might have taken some input. Then process data, that input goes here as parameter. So if this input is not as per the rules, I just go back and inform main that the input is incorrect. take the new input and give me. I'll once again validate it. If found correct, I'll proceed. Otherwise, I'll again come back and ask main to get the new input again. I'll keep on doing this until and unless I don't get the valid input. Understood the need?
Yes, sir.
One challenge. Main can call process data like this. How process data will get back to main? Process data cannot call main because if I do that, it will become a cyclic dependency, right?
Yes.
I cannot do that. How do I proceed? This is where probably along with main in the same context I have another function, let's say named as handle invalid input, which takes in some string that is the message. What I want is the process data after validation to call this handle valid input. And handle valid input should return me its value directly within process data itself. This is the function where I'll say get the new input. And process data will revalidate. So how do I pass this function as a parameter here? I want this function to go here as a parameter. Because while writing process data, one may not know by what name this function is going to be created. So I just want some temporary handler here, some representation which can say whatever is the function written actually by whatever name, it should be represented by this name. So that in process data, when I need to call, I'll use this name only. This is where .NET brings in the concept of delegates, where delegates allow us to pass one function as a parameter to another function, or one method as a parameter to another method. Do you understand? Yes. Let's see here. I'm going to add another item to this demo lib project. So right click on demo lib and select add class. Let's name this as, in fact, I would rather go for, okay, let's go with this. We'll do a little bit of adjustment later. Let's name this file as handle valid, or maybe I can simply say invalid input handler. That's more readable name. Invalid input handler. Say add. So now your demo lib will have two class files, demo class, the original one, and then invalid input handler.cs that we just added, which has got this definition. Yes or no? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Remove the curly braces. After removing curly braces, remove the keyword class. Give the access modifier as public. Use the keyword called as delegate. Delegate will have its structure similar to a method declaration. So it will have a return type, a name, then the parameter list. Because ultimately delegate holds the reference of some function only, the method only. So it has to look like a method, abstract method, I would say. Here goes parenthesis for parameter list. I say this takes in meter message of type string and returns a string only, which will be the new input actually. Make the necessary changes. Done. Is it done?
Yes.
Save and go to demo class.cs file. Here we have a method public void process data that takes in string name as the parameter, and then it needs to have a method coming in as a parameter for which we will be using that delegate that we have defined in the previous file by the name invalid input handler. Name this as input handler. Now, how do I check? Because full name will come as one string. How do I check whether it has got 3-part names or not? At least 3 parts or not?
Checking the
I,
space.
I probably need to check the space, or maybe if I can split that string by spaces, right? And count the number of words into it. Yes or no?
Yes.
So here I say full name dot. There is a built-in function in string data type called a split, which accepts the separator character. I say single quotes, pair of single quotes with a space in between, which means I want to split the full name by spaces. This returns an array of strings, but exactly I don't remember what it returns. I don't have time to research on it. So I simply say var names. You can understand the use of var the more over here, right? Whatever split returns, that becomes the data type of names. So here, if I hover on names, you can see it is showing it's a string array. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now, what I want, until and unless the length, I mean, the number of names in the full name is not equal to or greater than 3, until and unless it is the full name doesn't have 3 or more words into it. I just want to keep on taking the input repeatedly. Am I right? Am I right? Now, when I say repeatedly, what does it mean? I need some iteration. So I say while names dot length is less than 3. Keep on repeating some stuff here. I first of all need to check if this input handler has got some reference of some method or not. Ideally, then I go for if, and there I say input handler is equal to null. Means there is no reference. I just want to ignore the current step and I want to say return. Don't do anything because the input is invalid and at the same time there is no handler provided. There is no reference provided to handle the situation. So I just say don't do anything, just return. I can throw exception also if I want, as per the need of the application. Right? Then I say if it is not null, that means it has got some reference. I want to utilize that. Input handler, I'll say question dot invoke. What is question dot? Question dot once again, right before getting that function called whose reference is held by input handler, right before that call, it will check whether it still has got the reference saved into it or not. This is important when your program is going to be based on multi-threading concept, because one thread may say that, okay, it is not null, but the other thread may go and set this as null the very moment. So I don't want my application just getting crashed just for the reason that some other thread made this null. Question dot checks for the nullability exactly this same way, but right when it is invoking the function. Understand? So it's a safe way. Question dot invoke. If you don't want to check for the nullability over here at this moment, you can directly say dot invoke. But as I said, checking for nullability is always recommended. Question dot is what you should be using. Here I say, see, the invoke method is asking for a string message, which is nothing but something taken from here, from the delegates declaration. Invoke is actually the call to the function whose reference is added to this input handler object, which is the object of that delegate. And from there, it knows that it needs to have a message. Here I say enter full name in the format first name space middle name space last name. Invoke is based on the definition of this delegate, right? So if it is taking in the parameter, it must be giving the return value as string as well. If I see invoke is returning a string, I need to capture that, and where ultimately it goes back in full name only. So what are the new input that has been taken that gets assigned to full name? And there again I check if not string dot is null or empty. Full name dot trim. Then names dot names equals to full name dot split. Once again, the new input I want to split. First time it is split here. If the input is wrong, it is retaken over here, and then again it is split over here. And then while loop just takes care of rest of the things. Once all well, I come out of the while loop, I get the valid input. Once I get the valid input, I come out of while loop, and there goes the processing. So as of now, to simplify the understanding, I'm assuming the processing is just to display the full name on console in first name, middle name, last name format. Here I say there is an interpolated string which displays me first name colon names of 0 comma middle name. Oh, I have to put this after curly brace. Comma middle name colon names of 1 comma last name colon names of 2. Say, just get this finished and tell me if you need any input on anything. Is it done?
Yes, sir.
Any questions so far? So shall we proceed?
Yes, sir.
Let's go to program.cs now. Go to Solution Explorer. Do you see the option dependencies for your main project CS demo delegates?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Make sure you have selected dependencies of the main project demo delegates, not the library project. Right click on the dependencies here and select add project reference. This is a known thing, right? As we selected add project reference directly, it actually comes up to the projects tab and shows me the project which can be selected here. Select demo lib, checkbox, and click on OK. Here, if you expand dependencies now, there is one more option coming in, projects, within which demo lib is visible. Yes?
Yes, sir.
What that means is I can simply put the using statement to import the demo lib namespace. Then here I would need a method whose signature is similar to that of the delegate, whose reference I'll be passing in to the second parameter of process data method of demo class, correct? Here I say the method is a static method, not necessary that it has to be static. This is depending on the same discussion what we had in the previous demo. Okay. Name is, suppose, get proper full name, which receives a string parameter named as message and returns a string. I define a local variable full name of type string. I say console.write the message that is coming in. I say full name equals to console.readline, and then I say return full name. Done.
Yes, sir.
Here I create new instance of demo class. Let's say it is named as obj equals new demo class. And there I say obj.process data. I just give my name like this. Is it a valid name as per the rule we have set?
No.
So the callback should happen here, right?
Yes, sir.
Maybe to start with, I give the proper name. If proper name is given, the callback will never be there. But I still need to pass something, right? As the second parameter, I say new invalid input handler, and the constructor of this delegate accepts the name of the function whose reference will be held by it and whose signature has to match with the delegate signature itself. So it's showing there that a parameter of string should be taken by the method and it should return a string. Only such methods will be accepted here, which makes it type safe. Here, if I see the method, whatever is the name, regardless of that, it's taking in string parameter and returning string matches with the requirement. So I can pass this method name here. This is not the place where I'm calling get proper full name. I'm just passing the reference of memory reference of get proper full name method as the member of invalid input handler object. And when I say dot invoke, actually it is this method which will be called. This is basically something which was supported since, in fact, even today it is supported. Since C# 1.0 only, we do have this support. Is it clear? Let me run this once. So just say start. It shows me the full name, correct? Let's see how this is all going. Here on this line, where the method process data is getting called, I want to put a breakpoint. so that I can do line by line execution. For that, watch it closely on my screen. Before this statement, in the extreme left, you have the line number, right? Before the line number, you have this gray bar, vertical gray bar. Do you see? Yes?
Yes.
Just before that line number for process data, on this gray bar, click once. You should see a red dot there. Big red dot. Do you see this? If you click again, it will be gone. So practically, you just need to click it once in order to get it. This is something what we call as breakpoint. Understood?
Yes.
What this breakpoint does, it runs the code normally till the line on which the breakpoint is there and then pauses there. And from there, line by line execution I can do by using some key combinations. In order to see how the program is working, what is the flow, what data it is taking, and the whole process is called as debugging. What it is called as?
Debugging.
Okay, let's click on start. So it automatically pauses here. Do you see? It's not showing me the output directly as it is waiting for the next statement to be processed. Do you see?
Yes, sir.
Press the function key F11 on your keyboard. The statement on which it paused was a call to process data, correct? In demo class.
Yeah.
So when I pressed F11, what it did? It came to process data in demo class. Yes or no? If I hover on full name, it shows me the full name, the actual value which has been passed. If I hover on input handler, it shows me that it holds the reference of a method whose name is get proper full name. So whatever is passed, it will take it. Yes. Again, press F10 this time, function key F10. I don't want to go inside further. I just want to run the current line of code. F10. Full name dot split on space. So here, if you see, the names array has been initialized with 3 members. Each part of the name is now a separate element in this array. Do you see? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now, what do you think? What will be the length? If I hover on it, it says 3, which is not less than 3. So what it does, it just bypasses while loop. When I say F10 again, it just bypasses the while loop and directly goes on to console write line. And here, when I again say F10, it must have displayed the output on the console. This is the end of the function. I say F10, it goes back where it started. I press F10 again, and once more, the program is completed. And this is what I get. Interesting feature or not? This not only allows us to fix the issues within the code, identify and fix, I would say, but also to understand the flow of execution. Correct? Yes or no? Time. Now I just put Saket. and say start. The whole process starts the same way. Here I say F11. It goes inside process data. Full name has taken what I've given. Input handler has got get proper full name. I say F10. Where names equals to full name dot split on space. It will be initialized, but only one element is here because there was nothing to split actually. And hence the condition basically is true here. Names dot length is just 1, which is less than 3. So it goes inside the iteration. See? Here it checks if input handler is null, which is not actually. So this condition is bypassed. Here, then we say invoke the method whose reference is there in input handler and pass this message to it. Here I press F11. So where it goes? From where it came in. Get proper full name here gets called. Message is here. And I say F10. It shows the message on the console first of all. Enter full name in the format, first name, middle name, last name. I say F10 again. It is waiting for the input. I say Saket space Karnik this time and press enter. It returns the full name, whatever it has collected, which is Saket space Karnik. It goes back. It checks if not string dot is null or empty full name dot trim. It will further go ahead and split names. This time there are 2 elements. Then again it goes back and checks the length. It's 2 less than 3. So again it comes into this loop. It starts all over again. Here I say full name is mentioned. Again splits. This time I have the length of 3 as there are 3 elements. Hence what happens is the while loop this time gets bypassed and I get the final output. Yes. Yes. Do you understand how the things are working? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So here I wrote a method which is optionally getting called based on the condition being checked here, right? And while writing this class library, someone may not know what method will be written. That's why we are using the concept of delegate, which allows us to use callback. Understood? But one thing, here I'm writing this method as a separate method which can be called for some other purposes also accidentally, right? I may want this to be actually an exclusive method over here to be used only by process data when the condition requires so. C# 1.0 didn't have any solution for this. Meanwhile, before we actually go for that solution, let's see the simplified version of this. I could achieve the same thing by writing the statement like this. It was simplified in version 2 of C#, in fact. Here I say the initial input goes instead of going for this new invalid input handler object being created, I can directly pass get proper full name function as the parameter. Introduced in C# 2.0 along with something called as type inference. Basically, what is happening is C# compiler knows that here the second parameter is of type invalid input handler, which takes in a method name where the method is taking string as, one parameter of type string and returning string. So if I'm passing that method name here directly, it automatically expands to this while compiling. I don't need to write this expanded version. So my code becomes more simplified. And if I see the output, it is going to be exactly the same. I run it. It's saying enter full name in the format because here I didn't give it properly. I give it this time and I get the output. So there is no difference as such in terms of processing. Understood? Both are same statements. Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
Then C# 2.0 came up with a feature called as anonymous methods, which basically provided the solution for the case where I don't want this method to be usable anywhere else. I want it to be exclusively there for process data. What I do is I copy this code, then comment this whole method. Let's assume this method is not written as a method separately. Here I say obj.processData. I write that method as inline method. Here goes the input. Now the question comes in here, what I write here, because I don't have any method which can be satisfied for the delegate, right? So here C# 2.0 brings in anonymous methods. With the help of the keyword delegate, I can say there is a parameter of type string by the name message being accepted and which will be processed by the code written in this pair of curly braces. So like a method body. Here I make it look like a method body just to make it readable. And here goes my code. The copied code from here goes in here. This is which I'll title as C# .o called as anonymous method. Now this way I'm still able to do the same thing. Same code is there, but the thing is the code is directly created as a inline function and that function directly being passed as the parameter. Because this function doesn't exist by some name, it cannot be called anywhere else. It becomes this code becomes exclusively available for process data method only. Do you get it? I don't make any change in demo class. I don't make any change in the delegate. This part is still the same. Only the user part basically has changed. Do you get it? Let's see if it makes any difference in the execution. It's working properly. Yes. Give you 1 minute, just finish it and see if you have any question there.
So, so like it's a bit overwhelming. So, if you could revise everything once briefly.
Okay. Did you understand the first part that we did with this?
Yes, that is the just simple input of the name in,
Correct.
yeah, that is okay.
Do you understand this part here? What we are
Um,
doing exactly with this statement? Rest all is okay. That is pretty
yeah,
straightforward.
after, from that statement below, I did not understand what.
Okay. So
Like I
in
briefly
order to
understand.
understand this,
Yeah, yeah.
in order to understand this, let's take one example. I give you one assignment
Hmm.
which needs to be done entirely by you
Hmm.
based on some topic that we have learned, which
Hmm.
we are anyways doing, right? I'm giving you assignments, correct?
Hmm.
While doing, you came to know that, okay, I need some clarity over here. I don't understand the input, or I feel that input given by Saket was not complete. I need something more on this.
Okay.
It could be not given by Saket, or it could be probably I didn't record it anywhere. So I need input. What will you do?
Ask Saket for input.
So basically, you will get back to me
Yeah.
using whatever medium that has been shared. It could be, see, if it is a live session going on, you can directly ask me in the call itself.
Hmm.
If it is not a live session, like there was a weekend in between, you are working on the assignment that time. I
Hmm.
shared my number with you, so you could have called me, or you could have sent me a message on WhatsApp or an email, right?
Hmm.
Asking me the same. So what that mechanism is called? Uh, Once I give assignment, I assume that every input is given. Now I will directly get the solution, right?
Hmm.
But I know that in between you may require some inputs. For that reason, I shared some detail with you, correct?
Okay.
That detail, can I say it was a callback detail?
Hmm.
If
Okay.
required, you will use it. If not required, you need not use it, correct?
Yeah. Okay.
If
Hmm.
there is no input required, why would you call me?
Right.
You would call me if and only if there is some support needed. Yes or
Yeah.
no?
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole purpose of me sharing my details,
Yeah.
or anyone sharing their details with anyone. Yes or no?
Yeah.
So what term we use there? Call me back if you need any support, correct?
Hmm.
Can I use the simple term callback? Is the
Yeah.
process what we follow.
Hmm.
So don't you think this kind of dialogue or conversation may be going on in the program also, in the code also at times?
Okay. Yeah.
Understand the situation here. Program is calling process data by giving some input.
Hmm.
Process data receives that input here. But then while processing, it finds that, okay, there is something missing.
Hmm.
I need some input. I need to call back. So what I'm doing here?
So you're calling back by invoke.
Yes. And for callback in real life, I require to share my contact details, right?
Hmm.
Don't you think main needs to do the same thing? I give my input here, but if you need some support from me for further input or correction in input, you can call me back by using.
The delegate message.
I'm sharing my details with the delegate. You call me back by using delegate. Whatever code I have supplied, that will be called. So in first case, it is get proper full name method, right? Which is like the callback.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So what demo class is doing? It finds that, okay, input is not valid. So it goes ahead and says, Input handler dot invoke. So it is the callback call.
Okay, okay.
From here, it is going here, getting the fulfillment over here, right, for the input. And then with the new input, it once again proceeds with the processing, right?
Okay, so if the
If
string
that
is
new input is also not correct, the process is again repeated. But if new input is correct, it just goes ahead and does the complete processing, final processing, right?
Acha, okay. All right. So why are we actually like calling back if we can directly give our name, like it can directly
Method
ask,
name,
yeah, like
method
ask.
name.
Hmm.
Now, the problem here is while writing this class library, I may not know what method you are writing. What will be the name? Where you will be writing, whether it's going to be in the local program class, whether it is going to be in a separate class library. If it is a class library, which class library, what will be its name? And then what will be the class name in which you write this method? What will be the name of the method? I don't know anything.
Hmm.
Don't you think I need a representation there?
Sure.
Say
Okay.
one practical thing once again in our example that I used, you calling me back for support.
Hmm.
Suppose I am not available. I get into some other training program on weekends as well.
Hmm.
Quite possible, right?
Hmm.
Technically, I am free on those days, so some other client may book me for some other assignment. Yes or no?
Yeah. Hmm.
Now you are looking for some support from me. Will you be able to get if I am the only person?
No.
Instead of giving my contact details, if I give you a contact detail which is monitored by my team, and there is a support team sitting over there, of which I may be the part as well. If I am there, I'll respond. If I'm not there, there are other people who are looking at the queries and responding. For you, what is important? Getting support or getting support from me?
Getting support.
Getting support is the priority, right? So that you can go ahead and proceed and complete your work.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
doesn't matter who is giving it,
Okay. Okay.
right? So in that case, you need not know that this contact detail is of Saket.
Okay.
Now, whether it is Saket or XYZ or PQR or James Bond, doesn't matter.
Okay. So that work is being done by the delegate.
Delegate,
Delegate.
exactly. So it's a kind of a support center.
Okay. Okay.
This is the support center where you should call me.
Okay.
And here, while writing this class, I am saying that, okay, I need a support center from you if I need something.
Mm-hmm.
So class itself is demanding a support center. And in order to use process data, this guy is forced to provide a support center. Now,
Okay.
whatever the support center name they have used, that has to be passed here. So that without having a dependency on a specific name, this class can do its job without any problem, right?
Okay. Okay. Got
Right?
it.
Even
Yeah.
if I change the name over here, I need not change anything here, correct?
Hmm. Okay. Got it.
So understood this part?
Yeah.
Exactly same thing we are doing here as well. Just that now instead of having a separate physical method created here, we have inline method definition, which makes it exclusively available for process data. No one else can call this because there is no physical method that exists here, right? It's just logically there in the scope of process data only. Yes or
So
no?
yeah, so process data is the function the object is calling, and
Yes,
inside that the delegate string is giving it options like the fourth line you wrote to actually
yes,
handle the invalid input.
correct. So this is the support center, inline support center, which I have set up only for process data. No
Okay.
one else can use this support center,
All right. Okay. Okay. Cool. Got it.
right? So I might set up something for some critical uh, training assignment, right? If it is a project training, project-based training happening, I may need a dedicated team which can handle the queries of that project team, correct?
Yeah.
That team should not be called or touched by any other client or any other group, including people in my own organization, right?
Hmm.
It has to focus only on the queries coming from that specific client.
Yeah.
So what I will do probably is I'll set up team of say 2 or 3 people who are not known to my organization as well. I will completely set up this team privately to support my other client. Yes.
Yeah.
So whenever there is a query coming in, you have to handle it. You have to be available 24/7. That's what I'll tell them. Now there is a team of 3 people. They can do the work 8 hours a day in shifts, or 2 of them might be working at any point in time with some overlapping, right?
Hmm.
Everyone doing 12-hour duty, let's say. Correct?
Yeah. Sir, but sir, so this is understood. But for example, you're calling like this delegate, like the call center thing, every time you need it. So if you are creating multiple objects, you will be
Yes.
calling it multiple time.
With anonymous methods, yes, you are right. If it is multiple times required, you have to get back to this mechanism.
Okay. Okay.
So that is why they have not stopped supporting this. It's still working,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
But they have provided another feature where exclusivity might be needed. Understood?
Hmm.
See, this is also going to be useful when on case-to-case basis, you need different logic. You need it multiple times, but every time the logic is different. Then what is the use of this? Would I
Right.
write so many methods?
No, no.
Won't look good. Rather, I just make an exclusive implementation, right?
Okay. Got it.
So when I click a button, X happens. When I click another button, Y happens. Now both are needing the click event to be handled, right? But both of the button requires a different handler, different logic. Yes or no?
Yeah.
So there, probably this is not going to help me. This will be better, right?
Hmm.
So both options are there. Now C# 3.0 went one step ahead to make it even more simplified by introducing something called as Lambda Expressions. In fact, I'll just comment this once, copy this, then comment, and then paste it here. Change is simply here. I remove the keyword delegate, and here I put equal to greater than, which is called as lambda arrow. Rest everything remains the same. The whole expression is called as lambda expression. This is also anonymous method, but with a little simplified syntax. The keyword delegate sometimes confuses the developers. That's why with lambda expression, the keyword delegate was allowed to be dropped and replaced with simply the arrow function or arrow operator, which is called as lambda operator. Rest everything is same. The functioning is also same. If I run this, output is also going to be the same way. Saket Karnik is what I've given. So it is asking me for the input again. I give this. I give this. It will keep on asking me until and unless I don't give the proper input. This is going to succeed as there are 3 parts, correct? No difference in the execution, just another syntax based on lambda expression. This becomes handy at most of the times. Yes or no?
Yes.
Now, the way how we are using delegates is something what we call as unicast delegate. UNICAST, unicast delegate. There is another feature in .NET called as multicast delegate. So here comes the assignment. Urmila, please put that in the same document which you created on Friday. This is assignment 4, you can say. Assignment is you guys need to research on what is multicast delegate concept, where it is required, and an example. I repeat, what is multicast delegate? You have to research that. When and where it is required, and an example. Okay?
Sir, I'm audible.
Yes.
Yeah, I have one doubt. In
Yes.
JavaScript or any other language, so like, do we use exactly same concept as this, like
Exactly.
callback functions? So
Correct.
yeah. So what is the difference between? So why do we have to use
Just
delegate
one
to?
difference here I have here in .NET. So conceptually, you are right. This is same as callback functions, what you have seen in JavaScript. Main difference there is here we are giving a structure to the delegate definition here, where I expect the return type and the parameter definition to be fixed. I cannot just pass any function with any structure as a parameter to the other one. At compile time, this is checked. So suppose here if I go back to my C# 1.0 implementation, either first line or second line, this get proper full name you have to focus on. If I say this is not having one parameter, this is having two parameters. See what is happening. Is it acceptable? It clearly says no overload for get proper full name matches delegate invalid input handler. Reason it is checking whether the signature of get proper full name is matching with the delegate signature or not. It's not matching, so it's not accepting. At compile time, I know that there is a mismatch. That makes my delegate based implementation more type safe. In case of JavaScript, there will be a runtime error,
Yeah,
and
okay,
runtime
got it.
errors are anyways difficult to find out and troubleshoot. And especially when it comes to the scripting languages like Perl, Python, Ruby, or JavaScript, it's even more difficult. Yes or no?
Yeah,
Whereas if compiler is assisting you, compiler is pinpointing where is the error. So it becomes easy for you to troubleshoot. Yes or no?
yeah. So the working is same, just that we are using it to make it type safe.
Yes, absolutely. Delegates are type safe callback functions.
Okay.
This can be even compared with the function pointers in C and C++. There, C and C++ languages also do exactly same thing with function pointers, isn't it?
Mm,
If you have learned.
yeah, yeah,
But they are also not type safe. If there is a mismatch, it is actually detected at runtime and your program simply crashes over there. Yes or no?
yeah,
That will never happen in .NET. .NET pre-checks whether this is acceptable or not at compile time. It doesn't wait the runtime to detect this mismatch. So your program is much more type safe. Understood?
yeah.
So remember this word type safety. That is the key behind delegates. Okay. Okay, so time for the break here. After the break, we'll talk about garbage collection. It's more of a concept impact. And then we'll see the parallel programming. Okay. We'll resume the session at 11:55. Okay?
Yes, sir.